To open a Toyo Field 45A camera, press the button in the center of the front, open the case, lock. Draw the front standard out. There's a small red dot there to tell you where the 0 position is. And then lock the front standard vertical into place. Draw the front standard out and lock that into position, and you now have a camera that is sturdy and ready to go. The front standard offers swing, and shift. A modest amount of shift, but there is some shift. Both of these are locked by the same adjustment here on the front. I have added some stickers here to indicate how far out I need to draw the front standard. That's the 90mm position. This is the 150mm position. For 180mm, it goes straight to the front. Okay, I'm going to set it to the 180mm because then I get to show you the camera's maximum bellows. One more thing. Out of the box, the Toyo Field uses 110mm lens boards, its own lens boards. You can buy a Linhof 45, you can buy a Toyo 45 to Linhof adapter, which mounts thusly. So I can now use all of my lenses mounted in Linhof boards. That doesn't close up in the camera. Unfortunately, would be handy if it did. There is a version of the Toyo 45A called the Toyo 45AL, which has a Linhof style lens board built into it. You don't need to use an adapter. Okay. The other main adjustment with any camera is the focus. The Toyo 45A, you're probably saying, oh, that isn't much, that's as far as the front goes. It has 2 focus adjustments, but unusually, it extends from the rear, like this. So that's about 300mm of extension, so we can use some reasonably long lenses, like a 210 will do close up, a 240, 250 will do reasonably close. A 300 you'll be able to focus on infinity, but you won't be able to probably focus on anything else. You can also use quite a few longer telephoto lenses as well. Okay, so there we go. This isn't geared. This just has a lock on it, this rear extension. Okay, so let's close this up. There's a focus lock on the side here. The Toyo is beautifully made. There is a 0 position for everything. So for the front standard there, these additional levers here allow you to tilt it back 15 degrees further. Okay, I mentioned that for 180, the standard goes right to the front. Let me put my 180 on. That's because to focus on 180, the lens needs just a little bit of extension there. For a longer lens, I'd just extend the front out a bit further. Let's have a look at the back of the camera. It has rear tilt, 15 degrees. Well, it's got more than that. It's got as much forward tilt as you want, but it's got 15 degrees rear tilt with a 0 position, which is very handy for quickly setting up. It's also got rear swing. To activate the rear swing, you need to extend the back a little bit. There are 2 locks here. Undo the 2 locks, and the back swings again about 15 degrees. There we go. That's more than enough swing that you need. There's our ground glass there. Most 4.5A cameras have a rotating back so that the back can rotate from portrait to landscape. Older models don't have a rotating back. They are adjusted by undoing the whole back and rotating it around like that. If you get apparently what the idea was, there were 2 models of 4.5A cameras. They distinguished them by one having the rotating back, one having the fixed back. And the cheaper one didn't have the cover, but apart from that they were about the same. The Toyo 4.5 comes standard with a Fresnel lens. That's an acrylic ground glass. It doesn't have cut corners, which I actually prefer cut corners, but you can always cut those yourselves. Additionally, it has graph lock back, so you can put on roll film holders, Instax wide holders. You can knock yourself out. There we go. Cool. Another interesting feature of the 4x5 that Toyo is it has a little lever here that opens the back for you, holds it open. That's called a bail back. You'll learn to love that because it means you don't wrestle putting the film holder in. You open it, put the film holder in, close it again. It's very nice. It means that film holder insertion and removal is very gentle, which means you don't move your camera very much. Now, onto the tricky bit with the Toyo 4.5A. And that is folding it up. To fold it up, first thing you do is you put everything back. You make sure that your focus is back in. You make sure that your rear extension is back in. And you make sure that your rear swing has been zeroed out. You then remove your Linhof adapter. You loosen, I slide that down as well, which is the lock. loosen your front standard, rise and fall, and leave it loose. Slide the front standard all the way back into the camera. Don't lock it. You don't need to lock it. Bring the front standard down and make sure that that can move. What you then have to do is loosen your locks. As you close, I didn't have the, I had some shift on my front standard there and it was preventing it from closing properly. There we go. As you close that, notice that as you close that, that wants to slide in. Yeah, see that? Push it in, wiggle it around as you gently close it, and then it will close without creases. If for instance you have this locked up here, you can force that closed. You can force it closed. You will end up creasing the bellows. They may still be light tight, but they're not going to look very good. So, slide that backwards and forwards, slide that down, and you are done. Let's talk a bit more about lenses with the Toyo 4x5. Like most 4x5 cameras, we start in half wooden ones. Wooden ones are a bit different. Let me start that again. Like most metal field cameras, the Toyo works perfectly fine and easily with lenses as short as 90 millimeters. This isn't a recessed lens board. So this camera here will work perfectly fine with a 90 millimeter that isn't in a recessed lens board, which is good. Yep, nice and easy to work with. I won't get the front bed in the picture. One of the challenges with field cameras is getting the front bed in the picture with very wide lenses. This is fine. Not so with shorter lenses though. You do have to be very, very careful. About the widest lens that is still reasonably easy to work with is the 65mm lens. This is a Fujinon 65mm lens, and you can see this is in a recessed lens board. This is a 21mm lens board, and you can see that operating the controls is certainly a challenge. I usually use a pencil. It's a challenge. You also need to have this remote attachment for your cable release as well. That's okay. This will work. This lens will just work on the Toyo, but you must have dialed in an extra 5mm of rise so that it clears the front standard. And when you do that, I don't think you can see, but the bellows is really seriously compressing. So I don't have any ability to do any movements. I certainly can't put more rise in, but you know what? That's okay. You don't really need it. Let me focus this. Okay, so that's focus there. So that's about as far as it goes. Where's my focus? So I can draw that out a little bit. Okay, so that is now focused on infinity. you can see that the bellows is very compressed, and it's also got quite a bit of rise there. You may wonder why I've got so much rise. Well, the answer is that the recessed lens board, the lens isn't in the center. It is lowered 5mm. So the optical center, that's why I've marked this lens with the dotted line. The optical center's there. I know I need to add 5mm to clear the front bed. That's there. So it ends up I've added 10mm of rise to the bellows, which is why it's a bit scrunchy. But that's okay, that'll still work. I'm not putting any undue stress on the camera, which is good. I'm just going to pop the 90mm lens back on. And I'll set my camera up for 90. This is the Fujinon f5.6, so it's big and fast. Even with 90mm on, I still have a fair amount of movement without the bellows compressing too much. So 90mm has got, I can put about 10–15mm of rise on this. The lens has about 20mm of rise, so I'm not using all of the rise, but that's about as much as I need. If I need any more than that, then I'm going to have to use a different camera. It's going to have to be something like a monorail, because there aren't many cameras that offer better than that. Actually, that's about the top of the. That's about as much as the camera will do anyway. Yep. What I like about the Toyo is it allows some drop as well as rise. I was using my Wister last week, and I needed to drop the lens. I was using a 150mm lens. I needed to drop the lens, but it's got no drop on it. You've only got rise on the front standard. So I thought, time for me to get the Toyo out and have a play with that. So here I am. So that's the 90mm. With lenses longer than 90, of course, you've got pretty much as much movement as you could possibly want. Here we go. This is the diminutive little 135mm. So that'll be about there. Let me check that. Focus on infinity. Both lens caps off there. Open the lens. There we go. Oh, I'm pretty accurate with my focusing there. There we go. So that's focused on infinity. You can see there, as far as bellows goes, it's got a huge amount of movement. I'm becoming a bit of a fan of the 135mm. I think it's a if you're starting out in large format, it's a good easy focal length lens to work with, pretty versatile. Okay. Now let me practice what I preach, and I'll fold my camera up again. Okay. Lock down. Loosen the front standard. Wind the focus in. Front standard. Right the way to the back. Close, adjust, press, and we're done.